running full speed, but the markets are faster. Quasar Markets Live brings the world's top financial minds to you. Everything you need to know in one place. Learn from elite educators and gain a competitive edge, leveling the playing field for you. Join the conversation. Quasar Markets Live.
Good morning, Quasar Markets Live. How's everybody doing today? BigBeat is having a little electrical problem down at his spot. Hopefully he'll get that worked out and be able to join in with us here soon. It's Tuesday, September 30th. End of the quarter here. We got a packed deck on hand for you. We got a possible government shutdown that could black out Friday's jobs report. An AI meets commerce step change with OpenAI's instant checkout. Amazon devices event at 10 a.m. Anthropic's new Claude 4.5's out. A copper squeeze could be happening. We've been talking about it here from the Greenberg fallout. And a holiday parcel boom shaping winners and losers and last mile delivery. Some of the single names we'll be taking a look at today are going to be Firefly Aerospace after a booster test mishap, Wolfspeed out of Chapter 11, Echo Star Verizon Spectrum chatter, the Kroger DoorDash versus Instacart controversy, Jeffries IB strength, Progress Software's raise, and Nike's earnings after the bell. So a lot going on in the markets right now. Good morning, Marilyn. Good to see you this morning. So first thing we have is the shutdown is looming here. It is set to go off at midnight tonight, 12:01 to be exact. Both sides seem to be entrenched here. Not a good thing. I've been watching all morning. They've had everybody from both sides. So they had Schumer, they had Jeffries, they had Johnson all on, and everybody just pointing fingers. So right now, that is weighing on the market. Q set to open down slightly, SPY down slightly, Dow down slightly. And we do see tick and advanced decline slightly down also. So just things to keep in mind here as we get set to open. We might have a shutdown at midnight. Labor Department has come out already and said Friday's job report and weekly claims don't print during a shutdown. Some data collection also pauses. That does blind the Fed right when the labor read matters most. As I said, on the Hill, Speaker Mike Johnson is pushing a clean resolution through, trying to get something. The Republicans seem to be entrenched on just trying to put a little Band-Aid on it and get just a clean bill that just basically funds the government with no riders, no nothing else on it to get through the next 7 weeks. And the Republicans are saying, no, we want ACA premium credit protections. They have to be in it. That's our stalemate right now. There really is a Hill standoff here between the two. It does not seem like it's going to move. What I'm hearing out of D.C. has not been very positive, to be honest with you. It's been that both sides are firmly entrenched, and it looks like both are willing to let this go to a shutdown. I had a couple of questions asked of me yesterday. So explaining a little bit what will and will not immediately get affected. Those of you that rely on Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, those are mandatory payments. They go through no matter what. What happens is, lower level employees get laid off, data collection, things like that get paused. New applications to Medicare and Medicaid, though, new applications to Social Security, those get paused. So it has an immediate effect to a lot of people. Military does not get paid, either do civil servants. And while they get their money on the back end, it could give us a little bit more risk off overnight here tonight for sure. And the same way, any kind of news that bridges that gap, and if we do see any positivity, that would actually be positive for the market. So that's what you have. You have both side risk here today, but the downside risk seems to be outweighing the upside risk right now. We do have Case-Shiller numbers, Chicago PMI, JOLTS, and consumer confidence coming out before that shutdown would happen. So we do have some data that still will be coming out here today. So we'll take a look at that also. Doing a little cross asset check here. Gold at $38.14. Silver, $46. Wow, Steve now says 50 is his goal there. Bitcoin has pulled back a little, and I will say those are off the highs. 38.71 highs on gold yesterday. Silver, 47.16. Bitcoin, 114.842, now trading at 113. And Ethereum hit 42.48 before pulling back to its current level at 41.55. I will say that, excuse me, we are also seeing some movement on the yen as shutdown risk dents the dollar. DXY down here back below 98. So we do see a little bit of a pullback here on the DXY. The yen USD yen trade has picked up as there is some thought that they will actually raise their interest rates. And you can see it has it pulling down here right to the 50-day MA. Gold did tag fresh records, but we're seeing some profit targets here. And on the side of copper, Freeport's Grasberg hit a serious mudslide force majeure situation, halting operation. So you've got banks lifting Q4 copper price targets towards 10,200 or 11,000 a ton, also calling deficits into late 25-26, refining charges sliding, confirmed tight ore availability. So very positive. If you've been listening here, we've been talking about copper since Peter Thomas, our metals expert, brought it up last month. So for a full month, using what is it? CPER? No. There we go. CPER to trade that is down in the pre-market here, but up 3% yesterday and up about 10-12% since Peter told us about it. Keep in mind that copper is so important to these data centers that we've spent a lot of time highlighting, right? And then EV restocking for batteries, also high need for copper there. And then in the home building side of it and the rebuilding of Malibu and other areas all need copper. So all of that is positive here when it comes to copper's price. And again, metals have had just a heck of a run over the last week and actually a year to date. Let's get into the holidays. I can't believe it's already time to start talking about this, but we do see UPS, FedEx talking about it already, so you have to. Ship Matrix sees 2.3 billion holiday parcels getting shipped this year, looking at a 5% year-over-year increase, helped by an extra shopping day that we get this year, even as tariffs pinch some demand. The mix will matter here. Amazon and FedEx are tracking up 5 to 8%. UPS and USPS are pretty flat. Private networks at the big box companies continue to steal share also. Expect to see peak surcharges this year. A lot of talk about that. So a lot of talk that you will, if you wait too long, you will be paying surcharges. I will say Amazon's Prime Day does come up October 6th and 7th, I believe, kicking off the holiday shopping spree. Like I said, carrier pricing power will vary by region and mix. And for equities, Amazon's logistics tailwinds and FedEx's operational leverage put them at an advantage, while UPS and USPS look defensive right now. And always watch weather as the main joker in the mix here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's talk a little bit about the movers and the shakers so far today. Fly Aerospace got hit pretty hard here this morning. They confirmed that the Alpha Flight 7 first stage was destroyed in a Briggs, Texas ground test. All personnel are safe, but this follows the April mission that left a Lockheed Martin payload in a shallow orbit, implying mission failure. The near term is schedule risk. They have damage assessment on the test stand, insurance, and cadence to rebuild the stage. Expect some headline volatility and fly as it goes. And for space names, investors reward cadence credibility over hype. So watch for any FAA or customer timeline updates there. And again, down significantly over the last week and a half. So they've just continued to hit problems here. Might be the time for me, this could be the time to start to dip your toes into the water, quite honestly. Now, FAA issues and timeline delays are a problem, but this is one that's gotten beat up really badly over the past, like I said, since a high of 49, now back around 32.53. At some point here, it does start to get interesting to me. I mentioned that yesterday. I'll continue to keep an eye on it. Not ready really to run into it so far, but definitely one that I think you want to keep an eye on. Wolfspeed's in the news, and for a good reason this time, as opposed to a negative up yesterday, although that was a split. So it was not up 1,700%. So don't panic there. It was not up from that level, but they are set to emerge from Chapter 11 with a materially lighter balance sheet and reduced cash interest, plus a refresh to their entire board. It positions them, to power up in the EV and industrial sites, but execution at their Mohawk Valley and backlog quality are proving grounds. So again, Wolfspeed, nice move to the upside here, but execution is going to be the key to see if it can actually continue. But again, emerging from Chapter 11 is always a good thing to see here. Watch the fundamentals over the next 2 to 3 quarters would be my takeaway. Not one I'm looking to buy at this, $22.10 price personally. Wouldn't be surprised to see some decent short opportunities, quite honestly, off of like that 35, 25, 35, 50 area. So I do think if we see it pull back up to that area, could be a good spot to short at the same area that it stalled out at on the pre-market open this morning. On the positive side of space and the space spectrum, nice move up here today by SATS, which is EchoStar. And that news, that is up about 6.18% here this morning, as Verizon is reportedly negotiating to buy EchoStar's AW3 licenses. That is the mid-band license to bolster their 5G capacity, following similar deals by AT&T and SpaceX. So EchoStar lists a $9.8 billion carrying value on that AWS3 spectrum. So if it's priced right, this is capacity without a full C-band spend, while SATS gets a balance sheet flexibility back. So definitely positive read through to CapEx. If deployment accelerates, watch for any FCC stipulations for downside risk around it. But definitely a win for both Verizon and SATS. Gives SATS some money that they can use to infuse into their balance sheet without any kind of offering or anything else. And for Verizon, they pay less than book value for that capacity. So good positive movement there. Let's transition over to food and food delivery. This one hits a few different areas here. Let's start with the negative. And what this news is that Kroger has partnered with DoorDash to expand delivery in 2,700 stores starting October 1st with full basket access and retail media tie-ins. So the downside is Instacart faces a share of wallet risk at a key enterprise account. This was one of the bigger, Kroger is one of the biggest store chains across the U.S. and now opening themselves up to this partnership with DoorDash comes at the expense of Instacart. And then, from there, I think Dash was slightly up. Yeah, up about 11 basis points. Not much on there. It was more of Instacart losing business versus that, and it shouldn't have much of an effect on Kroger, as whoever does their delivery for them. Well, they might have got some better margins, a better deal to partner with DoorDash if I had to guess. That's why they tend to do those deals. We'll see. We are 10 minutes from the open here. Tick still slightly down. Advanced decline down about 130 so far. Qs have pulled back now, slightly negative. They had gone slightly positive here. And again, most things waiting to see what plays out across the government shutdown, or is there a government shutdown there? We're going to take 30 seconds for a commercial here while I have a little coffee.
You want an investment edge, but all you hear is noise, hype, and half-truths. Every signal is solid information, but only if you can see the bigger picture. This is where the Quasar magic happens. Weather, charts, news, all financial signals funneled into a single dashboard. Data alone isn't enough. Quasar Markets turns it into energy, sharp, clear, precise. Optimize with Quasar Markets today. Your edge when investing.
Okay, that gave me a chance to reset myself here. Next, we have Jefferies up nicely here, about 2.58%. The financial group printed in a $1.01 EPS, earnings per share, on their earnings report here, quarterly earnings, beating an estimate on the street at 80 cents. Revenue came in at slightly over $2.05 billion, up 22% year over year. Their advisory division also had a record $656 million in revenue. That's a healthy breadth in the fee pool and a positive read for their quarter four and Q1 next year pipeline if the underwriting follows. So it's definitely been one of the morning movers so far. And Jefferies looking again to open up here at about 68.37. Nice little move to the upside. They've had a nice little run here since bottoming out in April. Nice little move back to the upside. Here, 52-week high would be somewhere just above 82. Next, we have Progress Software. Now only up about 5 basis points, up 1.4% yesterday. They did raise their guidance after earnings here, and they did have earnings beats also. Their EPS came in at $1.50, expected to come in at $1.29, so a nice little beat there. And their top line revenue came in just below $250 million, up from expectations at $240 million. They did raise their guidance also after this beat. They had a clean print, speaks to the sticky maintenance and cross-sell resilience, even as enterprises digest prior spend. So good move for progress. Looks pretty solid. Chart here has been in a consolidation level, so maybe the bottom's in here on progress, and you can start to look at them. That was their news today. Moving in a totally different direction, how about a little bit of winter snow? Mountain MTN gets hit here really hard. I will say, if you guys remember, this is one that I called the top on back in December of last year, and it has proven to be true. They had huge problems through last year. I saw these problems starting to hit on social media, where there were a lot of complaints about overpaying for, not a quality product, quite honestly, by a lot of ski areas as they did it. They also had a lot of labor strife. They went on strike on a couple of their locations. That really hurt them. And skiing's expensive. And while it's buoyed by, usually an elite in areas where they did a lot of expansion, Vail Resorts bought a lot of the East Coast and Mid-Atlantic resorts that don't really rely on the elites, but rely on the sort of working class. They really got hit pretty hard there. And their passes, they're actually down 3% on their winter passes through September 19th, while their dollar on their passes is up about 1%. The one thing that could save this, though, and that I'll be keeping an eye on, is that we've seen some early snow already out west in the ski area, and that could be a good indicator, or could buoy them if something happens there. 5 minutes from the open, we do see not really a big move here. Q's still down about 6 percentage points. So we have seen a little bit of a pullback here since about 9 a.m. SPY, same thing, a little bit of a pullback here over that time. Gold pretty flat. Bitcoin sitting right about 113.3, actually seeing a little bit of reversal, getting a little bit of love here today. VIX is up at 1646. So again, we talked about it on Monday when it was down around 1530. If you bought that, you're very happy already. And we do see oil continuing to slip here. WTI down another 67 basis points. Brent crude down 81 basis points. Mag 7 in the pre-market, mostly negative. NVIDIA showing positive strength still here after a solid plus 2% day yesterday. Also looking pretty solid here today, up about 33 basis points in the early market trading. Apple, which got hit a little bit yesterday, down about 1%, down another 21 basis points here. Excuse me. Microsoft down slightly, pretty neutral here in the pre-market trading. Google continuing to pull back here. Again, after hitting highs of 256.70 last week, it's pulled back about 5 points from that level. Amazon slightly down here, pretty neutral at the open. Meta, same thing, fairly neutral at the open. Tesla, which did end up plus 2.81%. Steve shorted it for a nice little scalp win in the morning. But then after that, it did pick up some steam again. And then Netflix getting hit here, back down a little bit again today, but pretty neutral over the last 2 trading days. Indices across the S&P as we're getting set to open here, all of them except for real estate set to open in the red, but nothing tremendously down. Energy is the biggest laggard so far, down about 70 basis points there. Not surprising with the price of underlying crude moving to the downside. Tick is accelerating to the downside right now, so down about 57.70 now. And again, advanced decline has slightly moved to the downside here, down about 106 as we get ready here in about 2 minutes to get to the open. We'll say Billy, another of the early morning winners, up 4.75% yesterday, up 5.5% today. Some of the Canadian, some of the Chinese names are some of the major leaders here on the board, with Billy leading the way. Lee Motors up 2.58% in the pre-market. Also, Baidu, another name, up 1.08% in the pre-market. KC, which is Kingsoft Cloud, up about 1.18. So again, a decent amount of the Chinese names. Weibo up about 1.52% also. We are 1 minute on the downside. Outside of Fly, we'll say most of the other laggards coming in the crypto blockchain space. You can see also Tilray Cannabis, president, they're talking about delaying legislation after the president had a positive tweet around cannabis legislation over the weekend that had it moving up tremendously yesterday. As you can see, Tilray up 60% yesterday. A little bit of a pullback here today, 7%. We are open. Let's see what we get here as we get ready to open. NASDAQ tick is first move to the downside, minus 240 here. Advanced decline did move to minus 700. So a pretty muted start, not really too big of a surprise one way or the other there. Do see tick slightly negative still here, minus 200. So it stayed negative since the open so far. Dow Jones opens up pretty flat on the morning, only down about 1 basis point. There you go, completely flat, moving to the upside. SPY, which is moving slightly to the upside, down about 10 basis points. Same on the Qs, down about 7 or 8 basis points, fighting with VWAP here on the lower level. Needs to get some support there. Looking at rates here, 30-year up about 4 basis points. Bitcoin holding up and not moving one way or the other really off this start here. Solana, nice little move to the upside. So crypto getting a little bit of love here. We see that happening, a little bit of a bounce back by those mining companies we were talking about, although Riot bounced back and now seeing a little bit more of a sell-off. Chip sector, NVIDIA up about 26 basis points, broadband up 78 basis points this morning. So chip sector, a mixed one. AMD down almost a full percentage point. That was after a solid day by them yesterday. Looking at the Mag 7, NVIDIA and Apple both slightly positive. Everything else in the red. Google down almost a full percentage point here. Tick has gone positive, at least for the moment. Advanced decline now, negative around 400. It's a nice little recovery. We are seeing that buy the dip mentality coming in here so far. Let's see here. Mixed bag across the sectors of the S&P. We do see utilities up about 37 basis points here. Consumer staples up about 12 basis points. Healthcare up about 17 basis points. And real estate up 19 basis points. Technology pretty flat so far. Consumer discretionary getting hit the hardest. Excuse me. We've gone almost flat on advanced decline, only down 178 here at this point. Do you see the Qs dropping here? So here comes a little bit of a sell-off. See if that's a little bit Mag 7 led. Nvidia dropping to the downside now down 13 basis points. Microsoft bouncing off the lows of the day but moving to the downside. Do you see SATS really pulling back here? Fly continuing to move to the downside now, down 21.37, 21% here. Do you see a little bit of a buy the dip buyer on Rigetti? A little sell off on open door. Galaxy Digital was down. Nice little buy here. Nice little pop to the upside. Back up towards its all-time high here at 35.87. Nice little move to the upside. Tick staying somewhat positive here. See the small caps bouncing back a little bit. I don't really see what else is positive. Gold trading pretty sideways. Same thing with silver, Bitcoin, pretty similar. A little bit of an upward trajectory, but not much. Ethereum selling off a little bit. Ethereum struggling to get through 41.75. Firm down about 1% here. This continues to slide after hitting highs at 100, down 25% at 75.71 here. ASTS, which we know is Space Mobile, down here at 48.09. Boeing down about 15 basis points here. I did have some news on Boeing. They have reportedly has their successor to the 737 MAX, a narrow body successor in line. So they did have a little bit of news here today. Selling off continuing across EchoStar there. Tick's gone positive. Advanced decline's gone positive. And the small caps are what's moving the needle right now. They've gone positive. Nice little move by the Rut here. Small cap 2000. Dow Jones looks like it wants to try to go positive here. SPY still moving to the downside. Same with Qs. So this is a little bit of a different cycle here. Yesterday was all about tech, right? Today is not about tech. Today is about utilities. Utility sector up about almost a half a percentage point, leading the way. You see healthcare getting a little bit of a bid also. Nvidia's gone back to positive now, so you do see them moving back to the upside. Apple trying to go positive here, or it had gone positive. Didn't see that pop. Tesla and Netflix struggling. Meta definitely struggling here. Amazon struggling. Google also. So Apple and Nvidia doing their own thing. The rest of the mag moving to the downside. Tick still positive 200. Advanced decline now 327 to the upside rather. And we do see Dow Jones and the Russell have moved to the upside here. VIX at 1641. Solana trying to break out to the upside. Love to see that. Okay. Tick has gone back to the negative side here. We see Dow Jones is fairly flat. SPY starting to buoy. Q's starting to get a little bit of steam, but not much going on here right now. Dow Jones now flat. SPY's and the Q's trying to come off the lows of the day, but not really so far. Mag 7 Nvidia, the only one in the positive right now. Tesla now down 1%. Wow, Oracle getting hit here. Down another 1.4%. 344 to 278. It looks like it wants to fill the gap. Wow, that does look very negative. Bitcoin bouncing back here. Love to see a 113.5 here. Let's get above that. That'd be a nice little move to the upside. Okay. Q's is starting to move back to the upside. We're about to challenge VWAP here. It's 9:45. I do run out of steam after 45 minutes when I am solo. So we are going to let you guys have the rest of the day here trading. Again, be careful going into the shutdown here. If we do start to see news out of Capitol Hill on the positive, do look for markets to take off with solid news. But as of right now, everything I'm hearing out of DC has us with more downside risk than upside potential so far. So be wary out there, everybody, and have a great day.